This is episode 4, and we're going to talk about all things money. Would you marry rich or build together from scratch?
What is your biggest insecurity about money?
If we won a $10 million lottery, what is the very first thing that you will do?
Does your money mindset affect your ability to make money? There are so many limiting beliefs about money. Most rich people attain their wealth through dishonest means. Being rich is not a finest.
Before getting into a very serious relationship, I think the money conversation needs to happen.
The minute I paid off my home loan, I ran.
I don't think this is a faking it till you make it situation with your partner at least. I mean, do it with the world, but not with your partner.
Value your partner more than you value.
Welcome back to Love Rollercoaster. I am Gaurav Bhagat, your co-host, along with
Mrinalini.
And this is episode 4, and we're going to talk about all things money. Now, money is truly such an important aspect, right? It can be the reason for contention. It can be the reason for friction. It could be the reason for joy in a relationship as well. So it is going to be a super interesting episode, and we'd love to have your thoughts on this one as well. Your thoughts on money.
Well, very basically put, I think money is the second most important thing in life after air, because you need money for everything after that, including water and food and everything. So I think money is something that everybody needs. You can't do without it. So let's talk about the issues one faces in our own heads about money, as well as people face in their relationships.
And when you said the second most important thing, I actually thought you'd say love. It's like the second most important thing after love, because like in the old Hindi movies, right?
By the way, you're
when
talking about love and
when
money.
the father would say, "Meri beti ko chhod ja, check le le," and the guy said, "No, मैं check नहीं लूँगा. I only want your daughter." You know, so then the olden day
but to
Hindi
get the
movies, what
baby to that
happened?
stage, you needed money, no? To
Well,
keep her alive that long.
I don't know how they did in the 70s and the 80s, but
Everyone needs money.
Hindi movies at that time, again, throw in the comments in terms of if you know how they got it that far. All right, so I believe we're starting today with a rapid fire, right? We're mixing things up a little bit. And who's going first?
Well, I ask you first.
All right, go for it.
Okay. So I've got my notes because too many points about money. So, what is your biggest insecurity about money?
What's my biggest insecurity about money? Running out of it and just not having enough to sustain the lifestyle that I have.
The purchase you regret the most.
I actually don't regret purchases. I normally enjoy them, but there have been a few. I think that last putter I bought was kind of a dubious decision, considering I 4-putted 7 times while playing golf yesterday. So I think that was probably one of them.
Do you think less of me because I don't earn money now?
Of course not. I would love it if you did make more money, or if you made more money than I did, so I could retire and play more golf.
Don't talk
and
rubbish.
poker.
You were just talking about not earning your own money. If you won a lottery, what would you buy?
That's crazy. I had the same question, but in my rapid fire
Okay,
for
so
you.
you asked me that after that.
If I won a lottery, what would I buy? How big is this lottery? How much money?
I mean, whatever
Quantified.
lottery is a jackpot, right? Like you get
500
like
रुपए की lottery फिर?
nobody wins
मतलब
$500 lotteries.
hot chocolate
You're talking
पाँच भी
about
नहीं
a
आएगा
huge
उसका तो।
lottery, like something with like
throw me a
millions
number.
of dollars or
How many millions?
a few crores.
How many crores?
It
I
gets
gotta
so
think
boring about it. Yeah,
I
just
gotta
think a
about
big
it. I mean,
number.
I have things to buy, and I need to know how big this lottery was.
Okay, let's say like you won 100 crore lottery.
100 crores. I think a small jet that could, just get me around places quicker, so I don't have to wait so much at airports.
Riches beyond your wildest dreams, or family with very little money?
Is it like a midway path? No? Okay, I'll take the family route. Paisa to ho hi jayega, yeah.
Yeah, good answer. He always gives the best answers, you know it.
Okay, so now my rapid fires, and I've written them down as well. What's one money habit of mine that you don't like?
Spending on random rubbish. You just need,
Does that include the 7 things I ordered on Amazon this morning?
yeah, that too.
Crap.
And cluttering up the house and with stuff you don't need.
Okay. Point noted. If you could go back in time, would you marry rich or build together from scratch?
Oh, you. I will marry you only, and you were not rich.
All right. So I assume that means you will build together from
Yes,
scratch.
I don't have those issues with money.
Okay. Would you rather find out your partner is secretly broke or secretly loaded and never told you either
Obviously,
way?
secretly loaded. Nobody
Yeah.
wants broke.
Yes, you'd rather find I'm secretly loaded and I never told you. Wouldn't you be like, "Arey, तूने तो इतना लपेट लिया इतने
No,
सालों
no,
से?"
no, no. I know what battles to fight.
Okay. Now I ask you a lottery question. Okay. If we won a $10 million lottery, what is the very first thing that you will do?
I'll send money to my parents.
Okay. Nice. Wow. Mother Teresa.
First thing.
Awesome. I love it. And I have one more question for you. What's the first money lesson that you ever learned?
Save, 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 save.
Interesting. All right. So that was our rapid fire. And I think from there, we should segue into the point on money beliefs, limiting or otherwise. So let's start with you. Like, what have been, some of your beliefs growing up around money?
See, I had a poverty mindset when I was a kid because
When you say poverty mindset, like, isn't that like a extreme word, like a strong word?
the fact is that we never had money, an abundance of money to spend on ourselves when we were children.
Sure.
Right? We had the most opulent, lavish lifestyle. We lived in a 10,000 square foot bungalow on 3 acres of land, and we, had lovely food, and we had access to the best quality of life in the tea gardens
Yeah.
because the company paid for everything. It paid for your house. It paid for some of you. You had like a furnishings allowance. You had the car was provided. Electricity, petrol, your household staff. We had like 13 people,
13 staff members.
13 staff members working
for
for
a
us.
family of 4.
Yes.
Okay. Nice.
Okay. So, I mean, it was literally living the lifestyle of the rich and famous, but you got no cash in hand.
Right.
So my dad was barely earning some 19,000 bucks. So when you got out of Assam, then you didn't have any money to spend on anything.
Sure.
And all the money that they had, they spent on our school education, my brother and I. And the school fee was 35,000 bucks a year
Yeah.
per head.
Yeah.
So whatever money my parents got, even their leave allowance for their holidays, they spent it on our school education.
Got it.
Right?
But do you think that it's like more frugal mindset than poverty mindset? Poverty matlab khane ko paise nahi the. But frugal is, okay, we have limited resources and how do we really go ahead and use those resources? I think best channel those resources.
Yeah. So basically my mindset came from a sense of lack.
Yeah.
So because of that, it was stressed upon us to, spend less, don't buy what you don't need, don't buy expensive things, spend little and save as much as you can. Just save, because you don't know what's going to happen next.
Sure.
So that is the thing that I have imbibed. And even now I find it hard to buy very expensive things because I am so deeply rooted in my experience of my past.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Very different from us growing up because we came from a family where it was spend, and there was no concept of saving. So we came from a complete reverse of that. And I remember anytime dad would, close a big deal or a big project and he'd come back and be like, okay, so where are we going for holiday? And we'd take off on a vacation somewhere. And in the 80s, traveling abroad was rare and we'd still take off on holidays and we never really put money aside. Or if we did put money aside, it would just evaporate. I mean, land deals that never came through or investment in the stock market that crashed. I remember he'd built up a fairly sizable portfolio in 1992 before the Harshad Mehta crash. And we sit down dinner and everyone said, get out. No, abhi to, 3 guna zyada jayega. So just like how people are thinking about the markets today. And of course, then the Harshad Mehta crisis broke. And from being, all that plus, we actually went minus because, when the markets did open after 2 or 3 weeks, there were margin calls were so high that we were actually in minus instead of get plus. So we never had a concept of saving, but we did have a concept of just having a good time. Our meals would be at 5 stars. Our clothes would be the best. I mean, even at Sanaa, right? Where I would have things in terms of food stuff that people had not even seen. But of course, on the flip side, I had no savings. Until I met you, I had no savings. But yeah, that's just that.
Now I realize how important it is what you think about money. Because question is, does your money mindset affect your ability to make money? Right?
Sure.
because I think it is such a big thing. And especially after reading books like Louise Hay, right? When she talks about affirmations and visualizations, and even people like Tony Robbins, everybody talks about your mindset for everything. So there definitely is a money mindset. And if you think that you're not going to make enough money, you think you're not going to, you're not, it's not in my destiny to make money, it's quite likely not going to happen to you. But if you think that, yes, good things are going to be coming to me. And now I have really changed my mindset to think that, yes, money comes to me easily and in abundance. And I keep saying that, money comes to me easily and in abundance. And I think this is also Louise Hay quote. And I find that I don't have to think about where it's coming from. It just comes. You just believe in the magic. You just believe that, you will have enough, you have enough and everything. And I find it really works. So just changing what you think about money to get it into a more positive light than coming from lack, I think that makes all the difference.
Of course. Yeah. And I've always believed that if you have, or you come from this place of, lack, or I don't have any, it's just a self-fulfilling, prophecy. And it just keep roaming around that circle as well. And I think that's something that's important.
So something you and I are both working towards is a money mindset, right? So after being with you, I suddenly saw a different side. I saw an abundance mindset, right?
Yeah.
And coming from me and saving, don't spend. And with you, you'd always be like, oh, just buy whatever you want and money will always come. And I just couldn't get myself to do that. Even now I find it hard. But I have learned from you and I have let go and I do spend a little more and I do feel guilty buying stuff.
Sure.
I mean, as you earn more money or as you earn more money, I'm spending a lot more on things. But I remember you saying one day, why do people keep saying save for a rainy day, save for a rainy day, save for a rainy day? So then I said, okay, don't say save for a rainy day. And you were using it as an excuse to not save. And spend. And, money will keep coming. If you say save for a rainy day, you'll have some catastrophe coming.
Sure.
So then we changed it to say save for an opportunity instead of a rainy day.
True that.
So that's putting a very positive spin
Yeah.
rather than a negative spin.
100%. And in fact, I talk about that all the time. Even in my trainings now, we picked off, from that conversation where people say, "Oh, save for a rainy day," or have a contingency fund. But I never have a contingency fund, because if you have a contingency fund, what's going to come into your life is a contingency. When you save for a rainy day, मतलब कोई crisis ही आएगा, boss कोई bomb फटेगा और खराब ही होगा. So it's going to be basically, a bad thing. But if you name that fund an opportunity fund, now what happens is you're still putting corpus into something, but that opportunity fund is something that will lead to opportunities. It could be an opportunity in terms of an investment opportunity, like a collaboration opportunity, like something that you always want to do, so it's just that. So I think that's been one very big thing. The other thing I would talk a lot about is, when I talk about money in some of my workshops, I would talk about GEMS, which is GEMS, and G is generate. Okay, generate more money. E is you can economize. You can basically make some cuts and you can economize, multiply, which is obviously my favorite one, and then you can save. So, I mean, for me, I'm a generation and multiplication guy, right? But I'm not saying that I have a problem with someone who wants to economize or save. I mean, one of my early coaches would talk about, the millionaire next door, and he said, read this book. And I read like 10 pages, and I'm like, boss, ye to nahi ho payega. I mean, that would say like, don't go and have coffee at a nice place and don't have a nice car and all that. I said, dude, this is to not me. Right?
That's
because
you're a spender and you like the good things in life.
And like I said, it's generation and multiplication, right? So that is my game.
Yeah, and remember about your debt.
Yeah, and I think that was an interesting conversation as well. And I would always have this thought process that, and there was a time I was debt free many, many years ago, and at the time I said, oh, I mean, I'm 30 and I'm comfortable. And then I'm like, but you know what? Like, debt can be my fuel, debt can be my fire. But it was a very small amount of debt. And then, I'm like, okay, debt is my fuel, debt is my fire. And then I said, and we just kept picking up more and more debt. I mean, this building we're in today, this was, bought on debt at the time. And, but also I think,
adding to it.
Also, I think what would happen is that contingencies would keep popping up to ensure we stay in debt. So even as a company, as people, while we were doing better, the debt would keep piling on. But I think the commentary changed post a conversation that you and I had. And I said that, okay, what if the motto became debt free in 23? Right?
Gaurav, please. Give me more credit for this nonsense.
Of course. So I'm saying,
Okay.
right? It was you.
No,
it was you
but
who
no,
did it.
you didn't give me any credit
Of
for
course.
it.
Of course, the credit goes to her. It's on record now.
Oh my God.
Debt Free in 23 was coined by
No,
Mrinalini.
Debt Free in 23 was coined by
Okay,
you.
coined by me, but
remember
the thought
conversation
process
we
was.
had.
Tell me about it. I forget.
So he forgets the most important thing, the transformation that like really changed your life. You forget. Very good.
So what's the conversation?
You forgotten.
I'm kind of remember ish, but yeah, would love to hear it all over again. Remind me.
Remind you. We were walking after dinner,
Mm-hmm.
and you again said, "Debt fuels me." And by that time, I was very deep into Louise Hay, and I was like, "Why don't you change that? Because you keep saying debt fuels me, and you're getting more and more and more debt." And I just told you that why don't you change the phrase from debt fuels me to I have so much money that I used to do so much good with. And that literally, I think, I don't know what impact that had on you, but things really changed after that.
We did. And hence I coined the phrase debt free in 23. And we kind of got there, So managed to pay off a lot of our debt, as a company became almost, debt free. And subsequently we did actually and start building a surplus. But I think a lot of it is internal commentary. And the mindset is such an important piece.
Mindset
Right?
about money is mindset about anything is the most important thing.
Yeah.
Like you have to focus on your desire and not on the fear and the lack. You have to say what you want and don't have any thoughts that I can't achieve it.
Yeah.
Because you're just changing everything when you're just thinking it and feeling like it could happen to you. It is happening to you.
Sure.
You're changing the energy, and it will come by magic.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
you
I
don't
get
have to
that.
worry
I
about
get
it. You
that.
don't have to think about how will I do this? How will it happen? Just leave it to the universe and you'll get it.
Of course. Now you talk about the fear piece, and I think it comes from early childhood, maybe 7, 8 years old, and my mom, my brother, and I, we were getting out of somewhere, driving home, and we had this family, and this family was a family of 4, and there was the husband was obviously on a scooter driving it. There was the wife in the back, and then there was a son, who was holding on to the front, and there was it seemed like a girl sitting in the back and a child in the hand of this lady. And I'm looking at that family. I'm saying, I just hope that's never us, right? But it was almost like like if we say like something freaked you out as a kid, it was probably the fact that I hope we don't have to go down that path.
Yeah, but you still have like a deep insecurity about money, which I think maybe you should now really work towards letting go of.
Sure.
Because subconsciously that still plays a huge role in everything you do.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And you had some questions around limiting beliefs and things like that as well, right? Do you want to go over those as well, or some statements that were limiting belief statements? Because I'm sure people who will be watching this, listening to this, they may have some thoughts. And of course, I know we picked those off Harv Eker, and Harv Eker runs MMI, or used to run MMI, which is a Millionaire Mile Intensive. I think it's a great training. When I first went there, and even being the capitalist that I was, even when I went and did that, I had some limiting beliefs, around money, and I think you picked out a few statements from there as well.
Yeah. So we've taken about there's so many limiting beliefs about money, but I think we've taken in the interest of time, we've taken 5 very relevant ones where you have negative money mindsets. So the first one is money is the root of all evil.
Okay. You want my input on that?
Yeah, of course.
So my belief is that, money will just amplify the person you already are. So if you're like, mean, just selfish person and you get more money, you'll just be meaner and more evil. But on the flip side, if you're a good person and you get more money, I just think it'll amplify who you actually are. You'll be able to do more good with it. So my thought is that money is nothing but an amplification tool. It's not, anything more than that. That'd be my thought.
Okay.
What do you think?
To go off topic a little bit, I mean, I always have this impression that the people with the most money are the least generous. And I mean, we have experience with that, right? Like, I don't know, what is it about that?
There are a few. And sometimes, I wonder that, the wealthier people are getting,
do you want to hang on
the
to it
more
and
stingier they're getting.
Is it an
happens.
insecurity? What is it?
It happens.
Yeah. So then most rich people attain their wealth through dishonest means.
Let's take your answer on that one. Like most rich people achieve their wealth through dishonest means. What do you think?
So that is a negative mindset, but I don't feel that as much. I mean, I think to make a lot of money, like again, define rich, right? But to make a lot of money, I do feel that you have to compromise a little bit here and there.
Sure.
But I really can't answer that question as much as you might be able to. So,
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that, again, there is a ways and means. I think if you're perhaps sometimes a little crooked, you just might speeden up the curve. So it might come a little quicker, maybe about greasing some palms, pulling some strings, getting some stuff done, leveraging the part of your money to make some things happen. I think that's something that might happen, but it's not necessary that you have to be dishonest. Again, it depends on how morally ethical, you are and what dishonesty really means for you. I mean, obviously, don't take out a supari and get someone killed and stuff. Obviously, that's not a good thing to do. But if there was about just a little bit of speed money, a little bit of moving things along a little bit, I'd say that's fine.
being rich is not in my destiny. So, this is something that I thought as a child. I thought that, okay, I'll get a job and I'll earn a decent amount of money just to, survive, buy a few things for myself and whatever. I never really thought that, I would be able to live a really, really good life.
Yeah. Okay. Again, very contrary because I remember getting my first visiting card made when I was 11. And the card said TBE. I mean, dad's company was TBC, and I called it TBE, and it said the Bhagat Empire. And I don't know if I actually had my designation as emperor or something, but it's quite likely. I just knew I was meant to do big things, and even at the age of 6, I
Wow,
mean,
this is the first time I'm hearing of this.
yeah. So it was there. It was there.
Oh God, we should be
And
sitting on this couch more often.
yeah, and I mean, even at the age of 6, I have a picture of me standing outside. I use it in all my trainings, and there's me, and I'm saying, "Bhai, bada paisa kamana hai," like going to do some big things. I was doing stuff, right? Comic book libraries, helping my mom in her business for money, and all of that. So my mindset always has been, of wealth, and of course, it wasn't a hunky dory fairy tale, right? I mean, I got my ass handed to me so many times. I mean, right from the age of 18, when dad's, everything just imploded till maybe even a few years ago. But the point is, thought to tha ke bhai, मतलब मोटा पैसा तो आएगा ही आएगा. So yeah.
Dude, and you're working your ass off for it. It's not like, you're just lying there and waiting for it to come.
And
But
I
yeah,
think if
you're
people
working
who
very
actually
hard.
do that, my belief also is that for people who believe that they've arrived and that now they're sorted, it'll get taken away. So you just can't be complacent. You can't just think it's all sorted. It's might just end up surprising you.
Yeah, but I like that you're doing it the slow and steady way, and you're not looking at fast money and making like a gazillion bucks in one shot. And that's something that I have to keep
I know.
working on you
But fast
with.
money to kismat pe nahi hai, right? I thought I'd
Yeah.
become a professional poker player, got my ass handed to me.
Yeah,
Thought I'd become a
it's not
professional
in your
derivative
destiny.
trader. वो भी नहीं हुआ. So easy money doesn't come to me. I have to work for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a good thing.
Yeah.
Because, easy come, easy go. Yeah. Okay, so then the other one is getting rich takes too much work and struggle.
What are your thoughts on that?
So I feel that if you don't work hard, you won't get rich, right? I mean, to get to a certain place, you have to slog your ass off. I think we're done with the whole mindset about money, and I hope you guys have got something out of it where, just think in the right direction, have positive thoughts about money, and work towards achieving your goals. And now we're going to talk about a very important aspect of money in its impact on couples. Okay, how money affects partnerships, right? So this is like a huge topic, but we'll touch upon it in a very small manner.
Sure.
But again, like I've got my notes here. So I've got like a few money issues that crop up between couples is like, when you have single income dependency with your partner using their money to either control or manipulate you, right? I think that is where the person with the money has all the power. And I was, talking to someone I know, and I felt very sad hearing her experience in her marriage.
Sure.
She was married for quite a long time. And she said that I was given enough money just to buy the basics for myself and the kids and run the household. She said that, couldn't spend anything extra because I'd be asked. She says, even a 5 rupee parking ticket, I had to keep the receipt for.
Wow.
because I would be questioned on it. So it was like actually living under financial fear, and that is very crushing to your soul. And she was like, my kids could not even go for school trips, not because the father was afraid of getting, that something happening to the kids, but because he didn't want to spend the money on.
Hmm. Wow, who is this guy? We should call him in as our sourcing and cost cutting guy at consortium. He'd be like
Yeah,
good
but
for the
no, but
organization.
this is about power and control and
Of course.
manipulation, right?
Of
So
course. Yeah, it's terrible. I mean,
this is
yeah,
not something that you would want in a partner.
for sure.
And needless to say, that marriage did not survive.
Of course.
But I think it would have been a very difficult experience
Oh,
to
100%.
go
And I
through.
think this is happening for so many people. I'm sure the viewers and listeners, who actually have either gone through this personally or, know someone who actually has. And it's a tough situation to actually be in. And, but I do think that interestingly, what's also happening is that a lot of people in this situation are now feeling that it's okay to walk away from a relationship, that's actually so toxic.
Yeah, but when a partner does not have any money of their own, so you
Yeah.
haven't worked for all these years, you have no money, and you've been told that don't work,
Yeah.
right? And
What's your
then,
advice to someone like that? I mean, what would you advise them?
see, the ideal thing is that everyone should have their own money. Everyone should work, earn their own money. I think my mom and dad, they've always stressed upon me that, a woman particularly should definitely have their own money. And this is what I tell our household staff also. Like, when you get your daughters married, please make sure that they don't give up their jobs after they get married, or, they get a job after they get married, or, don't marry somebody who won't allow you to work, because it is very, very important to have something of your own, because that
100%.
is huge. Then you don't allow yourself to be manipulated and controlled, and you're not at anyone's mercy. Then
Yeah.
you can take stronger decisions.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next point is spendthrift versus frugal. So, like, if one partner loves to spend money and the other person does not like to spend money, so that's where, and then actually more so when you start hiding your purchases from your partner. When you're like, okay, I'm not going to tell my partner that I bought this
Sure.
or I bought that. And then they find out, and then it becomes a trust issue also.
Of course.
So I think that's another problem that comes.
Yeah. Which is why I always share whatever I buy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there can be a degree of contention there, and I think can also happen linked to the first point. Like suppose I'm saying one of the partners, and it could be the guy or the girl, is making all the money but has a saving mindset, and then you have the person on the other side who's not doing as well, not making as much money, and they have like a spending mindset. So I think it's important to again be in communication with each other and just let them know why, like in terms of why you're going ahead and doing this. And of course tell them in advance. Though I do know in one of my courses, there was this one closing line which said it's better to ask for forgiveness than it is to ask for permission.
Yeah, and you do that a lot.
Right. So
But
I
no-
think that while that's there, it's just that it's good to be in communication and let them know why, and just kind of give them a bit of a heads up before you go ahead and do it.
Yeah. And another thing is like, again, the judgment that comes from spending. Like, you just don't want to hear, again, you bought this, again, you bought that. Like, from the other person's side, from the
Sure.
person who's spending.
Mhm, mhm.
But then again, I think you have to be mindful of sticking to your budget. Don't spend beyond your means and put pressure on your partner. I still remember when I wanted to quit my job, and we had I had a home loan, you had a home loan. And I stuck on for at least 4 extra years because I just said that I don't want to put that pressure on you, and you were not doing well.
Sure.
And you were just, starting your business, and I saw you struggling with cash flow and this and that. And I was like, oh my God. And because I was earning, we were able to, do fun things, and we were able to, go on holidays
Yep.
and stuff like that.
Yep.
And I think that, it was a good mix of spending between you and I, and we never spent beyond our means, and, we always saved and everything. But I did not quit for 4 years because I said, I don't want to put that pressure on you.
True.
And the minute I paid off my home loan, I ran.
Yeah.
I ran. So it was one of those things where, you be a little conscious of your partner's financial status also, and don't put pressure on them. I think it's just a little bit of consideration on a
Correct.
partner's your part.
Yeah, and we were, I would say relatively, we had a good time and we would travel, but we were also relatively frugal. I mean, the cars we
Yeah.
drove, the vacations we took.
You couldn't afford it.
Yeah,
A big
like,
car.
right. So, and yes, and the point is, but, it was part of the struggle, it was part of the
I
journey.
think we
and it
never.
paid
I
off.
think we never had a problem because we never spent beyond our means.
I didn't have savings concept. She's like, what are your savings like? I'm like, wo kya hota hai?
I was in
And-
shock.
Yeah.
It's like you have no savings.
And then I
And
went
we were
to,
what 24 or something at that time. I was like, you have no savings. Because the minute I got my job, I started putting money into
yeah, and it's
things.
a habit that kind of becomes would it be, I don't know, contagious, or it just becomes this thing that you want to do. I mean, I remember I went to Lodi Road Post Office and I started a post office recurring deposit for 5,000 rupees back in the day, shortly after we met. And that's where it started. And then I'm like, okay, what more can I start doing? I know, like, she did not say I will not marry you if I did not have savings, though
That's something
somebody
he keeps
has
telling
misquoted.
everybody.
Somebody has misquoted me in that context.
Liar.
But
Again-
I
again
started
lying.
saving by virtue of her insights. And of course, yeah, and there's been no looking back.
Yeah. You put out a story also saying that, oh, she said she won't marry me if I don't have any savings.
Show me the story.
Rubbish.
I do not believe that
Yeah.
something like this is out there.
Acha. Just don't take advantage of the fact that stories die out in one day. So another thing is when your income suddenly drops. Okay, you're living the high life, and you're traveling first class, and you're
First
buying.
class to आज तक नहीं गए, but चलो.
So when you're buying, like your expensive things and whatever.
Train
okay,
की first class की plane की first class.
either.
Okay, हाँ, train
Okay,
की
so
first
when
class.
you're
तक है.
living well and you're relatively comfortable or whatever, and suddenly you lose a lot of money, right? Either your business, goes down, or you have to pay certain fines and taxes or whatever, for whatever reasons, you lose a lot of money.
Sure.
Then when you have that,
Stressful situation.
then you have a very stressful situation where you're having to now live on a very limited budget.
Sure.
You can't do any of the things that you did earlier.
Yeah.
You have to dumb down your, where you eat, what you do, like everything. You have to work within a budget when you never used to doing something like that. You may have to take your kids out of expensive schools and put them in cheaper schools. Those things also happen, right?
Sure.
So that is also a very, very stressful situation for people.
Yeah.
Where
And it's happened in the past, and it could happen, again in the future. I mean, everyone's like, India shining and all that, but you never know, right? What the economy holds. It's 2025 and it's a tough year, and people are saying that, the 5-year honeymoon of, the post-COVID thing is over, or might be a little stressful. So yeah, but again, I think that my advice to people around this would be you have to have a budget, right? You have to have a budget where you have to allocate funds towards various aspects, and there's got to be education, saving in terms of the opportunities.
I'm like
and all of that.
save
Yeah,
for this,
yeah.
like just have a steady savings income that is not touched. Yeah. So I think one thing we need to talk about is that do people actually have the money conversation when you are getting together with someone, right? When
Yeah.
you're entering a partnership, whether it's a live-in partnership or a marriage, do you talk about money? So a friend of mine, we were just talking about this topic, and she was like, I actually did have this conversation with my boyfriend, and I was like, if we do get together, what financial contribution do you expect from me? And they had this conversation, and I think it was quite sweet. And where he was like, okay, I'll do all the spending, and you save your money, and we'll use it for the extra things or whatever.
Sure.
But so that's one way a conversation goes. And the other thing is like the conversation you have to have is, do you have, for people who have double incomes, do you put everything into one joint account, or do you have a joint account for your expenses, or do you have separate accounts where you're just paying for whatever you feel like, and have some sort of conversation as to what the other person will contribute.
Sure.
So I feel that yes, have that joint account to pay for your common expenses, but I think everybody has to have, and this is something that my mom's always told me,
True.
everybody, be it a girl or a woman or a man, they must have something to call their own. In an ideal world, you have a perfect partnership, you live together for the rest of your life, and you have no problems. But this is not an ideal world. And, things can go south at any time.
Do we have a joint account?
We don't have a joint account, but you give me money every month. So, yeah. I think that's very important to have that conversation. What do you expect? The other thing is that, okay, suppose a partner is earning 80% of the money and the other person's earning 20% of the money. So a lot of times, they pitch in accordingly, that very ratio, like 80-20 to expenses.
A very, very big point, which can cause
another
a big issue.
thing is that, generally you want to spend, send money to your parents or your family members. Like, not just, spending on yourself, but sometimes you may spend larger amount of money, giving it to people who you care about, sustaining their lifestyles, or, like just doing things for your family. And then if you have a partner who is not very supportive of that, then it becomes.
So out of that $10 million lottery, how much are you sending your parents? Just to be clear, 10 million mein se kitna bhejo?
At least 2.
20% to banda.
Yeah. And I think it's a good life.
That's fine. I was just clarifying. Awesome. So,
and then the other, I'll take them on holidays with me. Right?
Awesome. Of course.
And you.
Always welcome. Yeah.
I'll give you also some money.
Thank you.
Don't worry, I'll give you another 2.
Your final parting piece of advice, for viewers and listeners when it comes to money in relationships.
I think value your partner more than you value the money. I think that's
awesome.
A very important thing. Respect and value your partner. And the more you do that, you will find that you will, that entire positive energy you will always get.
Yeah.
So it's not about the money. Don't chase the money. Chase your values, chase your joy, and just work towards having the best relationships with your partner, and then the money will come. Because together, if you all are happy, you will actually foster a mindset which will actually build yourselves up.
So, yeah, I think very well put, and I can't better that. So I'm not going to actually try also. I think it's really well said. I would just like to conclude by, if you're like chasing after money, like, think about it from an example of, you're running after a butterfly. If you're running after that butterfly, it'll always keep, moving away from you. But instead, if you are, that flower, that the butterfly is actually attracted to, then, the butterfly is going to come and, and sit on that flower. So be that flower, have that mindset. I think she totally crushed it, with that. And that would be my piece of advice. And of course, if there's anything that you have in mind, if you ever had a situation, send us an email. The email is going to pop up, on the screen. Drop us an email. It's also going to be there in the comments. I hope you're enjoying Love Rollercoaster. This was our 4th episode. So definitely do like, share, subscribe, and spread the word. There's no agenda here. We're just trying to come out there and make the world a better place. So I hope you enjoyed Love Rollercoaster, and do spread the word for it.
Yeah, I'm actually really enjoying this because this is the most I get him to speak at any point in time. So this couch.
Awesome. All right. And on that note,
it's good.
You all take care, and look forward to seeing you on the next one.